Hello, my fellow Americans and all you other weirdos. Let's start by addressing the elephant in the room, this elephant face. I had surgery last week around my jaw. I have subsequently puffed up like a bowling ball. It is very difficult to talk. It is very difficult to get anything done without being interrupted either. Stand by. My jaw is very sore. My face is puffed up. I can assure you, since most of my friends are dudes, I have already heard every single joke about why Casey needed surgery around her jaw. And I've heard all the chipmunk jokes and everything else. So if we could just spare me on that, it's going to take a long time for this to heal. That doesn't mean that I'm going to shut up. I'm just letting you know so that we can get over it and move on to bigger and better things, okay? All right, who's sick of being locked up in their house? I can't go anywhere. And like many people, not just Americans all over the globe, suddenly, just like that, all the money and all the income was gone. All the video work that was supporting me, as Google now on month 3 or YouTube continues to not pay me anything. By the way, after this video, I'm taking off the commercials on my footage because it's not fair that YouTube still gets to make money and I don't. So, there. But yeah, everything is just gone. Gone. I applied to work at Walmart and Costco because at least it's some work, right? And that's just, I mean, in 2 weeks, like everything, it's crazy. Anyway, that said, we're going to skip our new tradition of worst advice I've ever received because we have so much else to talk about. But this video, I was originally going to do this video in reference to how many people want to sell all their stuff and go hit the road and are feverishly selling their homes to go buy a depreciating asset, and to talk to them about what it's like to sell your home by yourself, for sale by owner, if you need to save a lot of money, or if you need that money, save it on the commission. And then I decided not to do it, and then it occurred to me this week, now that there are so many people who are unemployed, that information might actually really be valuable, not just to people in the RV travel community who want to get rid of their home, but because over the next couple weeks, we are very realistically facing a situation where people can't make their mortgage payments and need to liquidate their home for very different reasons. And selling your home on your own can save you a ton of money. There's no denying that. I will stop right here because I know that every single real estate agent or mortgage professional or broker is going to come for my ass on this. I did a blog post about this once, and like the real estate community just, nobody can sell their house without a real estate agent. Well, yes, you can. Very few people should try. So let me preface this entire conversation by saying that this is not for everyone, but it is an option. Not everyone should do it, but not everyone should be told that it's impossible and that you can't do it. I did it. I ended up getting full asking price on my house, which I was thrilled. If you don't get full asking price, it doesn't mean that you failed. But it went pretty good on my end, and so it's something that is an option to you that you can consider. However, let me first say that there is a list of people, and I'm going to have to refer to my notes on this, who absolutely should not try to sell their house themselves. Number 1, if you're lazy. Selling your house on your own is a full-time job. It's a full-time job for real estate agents. That's why we have them, because it is so time-intensive to try to sell your home that if you are not like ready to go all the time, people are going to call you at all hours of the day, starting from like 7:30 in the morning. I kid you not. People who want to like see a home before they go to work, until well after 10 o'clock at night. If you are not ready to clean your house constantly, if you are not ready to deal with all the paperwork and like keep things organized and what part of the process the home is in and blah, 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 and like who saw, I mean, if you are lazy, then hire somebody. And that's totally fine. Lazy might not even be the right word, because if you just have a very busy life, if you're running a business, if you've got a lot on your plate, then hire somebody who can do the job better than you can. That said, real estate agents are like any profession. There are some people in it who are phenomenal, who deserve every single penny off of their commission. And then there are people who suck at it. Real estate has done very well for the past 10 years. Until March 2020. Ow. Oh, God. Because of that, a lot of people got into real estate because it only takes a couple weeks to get your real estate license. I get concerned when the guy who's offering to sell a house was delivering a pizza 5 weeks ago. This is a very serious profession. You're dealing with huge sums of money. And so if you are going to get a real estate agent, it's on you. The onus is on you to do all your homework and ask a ton of questions and find someone who is a damn good real estate agent. If you just go through Zillow and just take whoever you get, then that's what you get, just whatever was available. We talked about that when buying an RV, remember? And one of my pieces of advice there is to call the RV dealership, talk about your personality and your buying behavior, and say who's the best match for that. Do that with a real estate company. Call the broker in charge and say, I am a no bullshit person. I want things black and white and I expect responses all the time. Who's going to work with that? They might not have anybody. Or, if you're someone who this is an emotional thing, you raised your kids in this house, your husband carried you over the threshold. I'm just kidding. Men do not carry women over the threshold of a house anymore. That doesn't happen. But if that's you, and you need someone who, can kind of like emotionally support you through this, you need a very different person. Anyway, so if you do not have the time, energy, the motivation, or if you can admit that you might just be a little bit lazy, then selling your home by yourself is not for you. If you have feelings, oh God. Some of you sickos are going to get such a thrill that every time I laugh, I hurt myself. If you have feelings, you might not want to sell your home yourself. People are going to say awful things about your home. Some of them are warranted and some of them are not. You will get crazy lowball offers, either because they can't afford your home and are pissed off about that, or because they intend to come in significantly under asking price, but they want to get under your skin and say that the home is overpriced, and then they're going to come in with this lower offer to get you where it hurts. I mean, I thought that the Babe Cave, my house, was the most beautiful house in the world, because I did it. But people said some wretched things in the feedback and had no mercy because they don't have to see you. They don't care. So if you're going to get your thong in a knot because someone says that your house is tacky, or if the paint is ugly, or if you are stupid for your asking price, or if you cannot moderate your feelings, if you have really strong emotional ties to that property, this is probably not a good idea. A real estate agent is the buffer between your heart and the heartless. And they will filter the information to just what you need. And they know, because it's their job, how to interpret feedback and how to give you only what you need. When you sell your house by yourself, you are the punching bag, and you better be ready for that. It is very hard when you're selling your home not to take things personal. I thought about setting kittens on fire when I was going through this process. And I have a pretty strong backbone, but it hurts your feelings when you've invested so much into something, and then someone says something stupid like they don't want to talk about an offer on the home because they don't like the bathroom sink, and you're like, that can fucking come out of the wall, right? Anyway, number 3, not a good idea to sell your house by yourself if you cannot have a fluent an intelligent conversation about real estate. If you don't know the lingo, if you don't know how to price something out per square foot, if you can't talk about comps which are the comparable properties in your neighborhood. If you don't know how to read a real estate contract and that like fine bullshit print in there, if you can't have that kind of conversation, then it's probably not a good idea to sell your home yourself, because the real estate agent, the buyer's agent who's bringing potential people to you, can. And you have to be on somewhat of an even playing field. There's no shame in the game on saying, I don't know what that means, can you explain it to me? But when you start getting into contracts and you're going through all those details, you have got to be able to hold your own. And if you can't do that and you don't have someone who can mentor you through it, then it's best to get someone, a real estate agent, who can, because they know those words up, down, and across and can take that all off your plate because that's their job. And again, number 4 was ability to read contracts. This is critical because everything can go to shit in the contract. And people will try to sneak all kinds of things into a real estate contract, into an offer. I'll talk about this a little bit more at the end, but everyone, when they get an offer, the only thing that they look at, they scroll through and look at the offer price. And that is literally the tip of the iceberg, because all the bullshit is underneath. There's all kinds of things people can slip into a contract. Change the wordings around, put in little contingencies that if you didn't catch that, you just went into a legal agreement with someone who has all the power and you didn't notice it because you don't know how to read a contract or because you were so obsessed with the offer price. So you have got to know how to read a contract, or have someone in your life who you can pass the contract off to and say, hey, can you tell me if there's anything in here that's kind of squirrely? All kinds of crazy stuff about like inspections, and yeah, it gets nutty. Sometimes selling a home is a game of who's lying that day. And yet we do this all the time. And the last one, you should not sell your house by yourself if you do not have the flexibility in your schedule for showings and answering calls. I already talked about the showings. People are going to come at all hours of the day. You will have people, I kid you not, who just knock on the door at random because they saw the for sale sign in their house, and someone will come up to your door and they will say, hi, is this house for sale? And you have to do everything in your soul to not say, no, dumbass, I just got that for sale sign out front at a vintage store and I thought it looked good among the begonias. Of course it's for sale, dipshit. You can't say that. You want to, but you can't. All the time, people are going to want to see the house. So you have to have a lot of flexibility in your schedule. With an agent, you have the option to call them and say, hey, I left a turd in the toilet, or I didn't turn on music so they can't hear that I live on a busy road, or the litter box hasn't been scooped in 3 weeks. Can you please run over to the house and handle that before the buyer's agent and the potential buyers get there? Nope, just up to you. So you've got to be able to leave work if you didn't clean before you leave. You have got to always be available and answer those phone calls. Not only will those phone calls come forever and ever and ever all day long, but you have to change the way you answer the phone. When someone's selling their house themselves, and I've made offers on for sale by owners, and what often happens is they'll answer the phone and they'll be like, hello? No. You are asking someone to give you hundreds of thousands of dollars. So from now on, when there is a number calling you that you don't recognize, you answer the phone and you say, hi, this is Casey. Because you're hoping that it's someone trying to buy your home. When people sell their house themselves and they answer their phone like on the like, what up? It happens. It really does. It immediately makes you unprofessional, and everyone involved is going to think that you're not capable enough of doing this yourself. So, step up, huh? All right, if you pass all those, if there's probably like 2 of you left who can handle all that and still want to sell your house yourself to save potentially tens of thousands of dollars, let's rock and roll. Why do agents get paid 6%? This is changing, and I don't think we'll see the 6% model too much longer, but that goes back to the 1950s. It's the National Association, oh God, I need an opioid. Side note. When you go to get anything done, they will give you all the drugs in the world. Now, I have done heroin and opioid documentaries in Wilmington, so when I went to the pharmacist to get the hydrocodone, which was like mandatory for this, even though I didn't take it, she gives me the bottle, and she knows who I am because I shot documentary footage in her parking lot. And she leans over and she goes, "Do you need Narcan?" Narcan is what they inject in you to bring you back from an overdose. And I almost took it because it was free and I was going to gift wrap it and give it to my surgeon, like as a joke. But then I thought, if we have like a shortage of Narcan and it's because Casey took the one free one, but like that's really bad PR. Okay, anyway, the National Association of Realtors came up with this in the 50s, and the 6% was justified because at the time they had to pay for all these newspaper ads, and they had to make their book. Like, you went actually to a real estate office and like looked at a book, and so there was all those printing fees, and they had several open houses, which were expensive, and it's an antiquated model, and it's hard to justify anymore. One, because everything is digital, and they still pay for some of those. I'll give them that. Very true. But also because it doesn't really make any sense. Just take like a $400,000 house. What's 6% of $400,000? That's like $24,000. $24,000. Whew. Okay. And then a $350,000 house, that's like $20,000 or $21,000. So there's a $3,000 difference in commission between a $400,000 and a $350,000 house. Well, what was the $3,000 worth of work difference between those two? There isn't one. It's strictly based off the price of the home. So it's not a terribly great model, and it is kind of changing. But that said, when you sell your house yourself, you would be saving money on the 3%, which is the seller's agent. You are still going to be expected to pay the percentage for the buyer's agent. And you are fooling yourself if you think you're going to write on your ad, "No buyer's agent, call directly." No one is going to come see your home. No one. You want to pay for the buyer's agent. You want them to bring you buyers. They're doing work for you. They're bringing potential buyers. You are going to pay them. However, when you sell your house yourself, you now have a say over their 3%. So when I sold my house, I put it down to 2.5%. I just could not justify the 3%. I mean, I had done a ton of work and I was doing all the negotiating, and I thought 2.5% was very fair. And also at the time, and this was 2018, homes were selling like this. So I knew that people were still going to be bringing buyers to the table at 2.5%. If you bump it down to 2%, you're probably going to have less buyer's agents willing to make your house the highlight. But between 2.5 and 3%, you're probably okay. And that's kind of the structure. And also know that real estate agents don't take home that 3% on their side. They still have fees to their brokerage. So everyone thinks that real estate agents make a ton of money. And at the end of the day, when you add up all the hours that they worked and then the fees that they paid, it's really not a tremendous amount. All right, so you've decided that you're going to sell your house yourself. Well, you have to list it. Please, for the love of God, do not go on Realtor.com or Zillow.com and write an ad and then list it as for sale by owner, or even on the for sale by owner website. Let's just be honest. When you see a home in all those listings that says for sale by owner, what do you think? Deal. They must be desperate for money. They don't know what they're doing. I could get a deal on this house. They can't afford a real estate agent. I could afford a real estate agent. I just didn't want one because I knew where every God-blessed nail in that house was. I knew how all the systems worked. I knew every single paint color in the house by heart. I knew where all the materials were sourced. I knew where the chases were in the wall. I knew where the electric was run. I knew what kind of roof it was. I knew that house was bespoke to me. So nobody could talk about that house better than I could. So I didn't want one. I wanted to be the person have the conversation about the babe cave, not somebody else. Most people are not like me. And thank God, right? Can you imagine? All right, so please do not just go on there and do for sale by owner because it screams, I'm gonna get a deal. Here's what I did to get around that. Also, I'll add that a lot of agents, and they'll never say this out loud, but a lot of real estate agents do not want to deal with for sale by owner because the general assumption is that you cannot have a conversation about real estate, you're just the general public, that you don't know how to read contracts, and that you're trying to save money so you're going to be difficult to deal with. And they don't want to deal with that. There are lots of houses else that they can show that aren't yours. So how do you get around that? I got around that by going to a flat fee service. So a flat fee service is then rather than pay a percentage of my home sale, I paid $500 to a service. That service then listed my home on the MLS, and the MLS is the database that all the real estate agents use to find listings and showings and all that jazz. It gets your listing onto the MLS. If you just list your home on Zillow or Craigslist, it is not populated in the MLS. And if you are not a real estate agent, you cannot put a home on the MLS. You want your house on the MLS because then all the real estate agents in town can see your home and bring you a buyer. Okay? So I paid for the flat fee service. That got me listed on the MLS. And now it says listed by and then the name of the realty company. Now it was just a one-time fee, but it still showed that I was listed by a realty company. So immediately for $500, I got rid of some of the stigma of this is going to be a deal because it populated that way as listed under a realty service in the MLS. When they put it up on Zillow and Realtor.com and anything else, it still showed under a realty company. It never said for sale by owner, but it was for sale by owner because I was in charge of the selling process. I just paid for you to list it on the MLS. Now, so many people who sell their house themselves will then take this thing and go around their home and take the worst photos possible of their house. Are you crazy? You're asking someone to give you hundreds of thousands of dollars and you're going to cheap out on photos? Everyone looks for a home now online. You need to sell real estate porn. You need the best looking photos, sexy, 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 because you want them to come look at it. Okay? It costs, I usually charge $250 to shoot a house, depending on how much I like the real estate agent. It can go up a lot. That is the best money you will spend because what we have when we shoot homes, when I shoot a house, we use wide angle lenses so we get more of the room in the shot. This often makes spaces look bigger than they really are. It's just the nature of the lens. And then we also use something called HDR photography, and that simply means it takes away the shadows. It lowers the highlights where light is blasting through the windows. And you'll just notice when you look at professionally shot real estate photos, they're just very clean looking and they don't have harsh shadows and they don't have blown out windows. And it's because of that technique. Spend the money. Hire someone on Upwork or type in real estate photographer in your community and get some damn good photos so that you can have a listing that looks professional and doesn't look like a budget listing. Hell, shoot the photos and send them to me and I'll edit them. If you can shoot the photos. So I took all the photos for my house because I can. And I also produced a video. So I walked around and I shot 10-second clips of all the different rooms, and then I edited it together and put it to a really lovely track, and I had that to also give to buyers as to say, hey, in case you forgot how wonderful my home is, here's a link, because I know that when people get excited about a house, they post pictures of it online. So I was hoping that people would share that video, and some of them did. In fact, that video and my photos were the reason that I got featured on a couple old house blogs, and I got an article written up in the newspaper. So because I had that great digital media, that great advertising, I got all this other free press for the house that helped me sell it. Brilliant! Spend the damn money. And that goes for, if your real estate agent walks around your house with this, and you can see that horrible reflection of them standing in the bathroom mirror, no. It's $250 in exchange for hundreds of thousands of dollars. Spend the damn money. Okay? So now you have your photos. The flat fee service will offer to write a description for you. I chose to write my description because I'm good at writing, but they will do it for you. And at the very least, they'll give you some guidance about how to write it. You know, to use all those words that lie about a house, like cozy or needs some love. Photos, you've got your description, you get on the MLS. They are going to give you some guidance about, like, you're going to have to plug in the feet per square foot and all that. The service should also come and measure the house. That was part of my $500 fee. You want a professional to measure the house because your price per square foot is dictated by the total square footage of a home. Okay, so you have to have an accurate measurement of all the rooms in the house, of the total square footage. That's also going to affect the appraisal. So don't just guess. And if you look back on the tax records and you take whatever that number is, chances are that's not going to be right either. I had 2 different measurements done of my house on 2 different companies, and they were different numbers. There's no telling, but you have to have that done, and that should be part of your flat fee service. Now you can start setting some of the rules. And that is the great thing about the flat fee service, is because it gets you into where the agents are, but you can set the rules. No open houses for my house. Open houses are such an antiquated, old school way of doing things, where it was necessary to do open houses because people came to the office and they looked in that book and, you know, they wanted to see it, so they waited to the weekend and then they drove in the agent's car and there were balloons out front and you got to walk around. No, not today. Today, people have stalked your house relentlessly already. On the MLS and on Zillow, they have the pictures. Chances are there was drone shots. They can see a video. They've looked it up online. They've Googled it. No. Open houses today, and here's where real estate agents are going to get mad, are a great way for a real estate agent to get future leads. Any open house that I've gone to lately, the real estate agent the seller's agent has been sitting there, and they ask you to sign in, so now they have your contact information. And if you don't like the house, they'll be like, oh, well, what kind of property are you looking for? Like, what else can I show you? And I'm like, shouldn't you be selling me this one? I just think it's a totally old school way of doing things because everything is digital now. Second of all, safety. When I had my house listed for sale, I was still working in TV, so I was really, really particular about who came through my house. I didn't need some psycho who plays with his ding-dong while watching me on TV, licking my pillow when I'm not home. Maybe a stretch, but possible. I didn't want a free-for-all of people coming through. Also, because my house was a plaqued historic house in downtown Wilmington that had been featured on This Old House and blah, blah, blah. People wanted a free house tour. Tourists wanted to come to Wilmington and not pay for a tour and then go see the cool house that had the penny shower. No. People are going to be walking all through your stuff. Theft happens a lot at open houses because the seller's agent is downstairs schmoozing people. And then you've got people up in your bathroom. Legitimate prescription theft, jewelry theft, and all that occurs because you can't possibly ask one person to babysit a house full of humans. Unless you're going to empty out all your valuables, I would never have an open house. And they're just not, you get a lot of tire kickers. You might get one potential buyer, but it's a great way for people to see a house and then like walk away. And you just want serious people. You're trying to get this done. Okay, and then the last thing that you get with a flat fee service is a key box. And that is that it's a realtor's box and the key drops out from the bottom. Huge help that you cannot get if you go it alone, because you don't want to have to leave the door unlocked and you don't want to hide a key. I will try to say this lovingly. I'm sure they don't do it intentionally. But when buyer's agents come through your home, they tend to forget to do the obvious thing. Not all. Let me be clear about that. I have some real estate friends who are absolutely phenomenal at their job. They're all-stars. But again, like any other industry, there are people who are at the top of their game and there are people who just don't give a damn. Doors left unlocked. All the lights left on. I remember one, and I'll get into the camera system in a second, but like opened the front door on a blazing hot day and left the door wide open with the AC running for like 30 minutes. You don't want to be leaving keys. People will walk off with the key. They'll forget to put it back where it's supposed to be, and then the next real estate agent that day will not be able to find it. You don't, and plus you don't want complete strangers to see where you're hiding the key. So the flat fee service gives you a contained, coded box that your house key can get put in, and then that way it gets locked back up and you're not shoving it under the planter. Horrible idea. If you're not going to be running back and forth to your house to open up the door for people, you don't need to be bothered with all that. Get the flat fee service. If you don't have a flat fee service in your community, tell me and I will temporarily move there and start one, because I think they're the greatest things ever. All right, suggestion. Nobody's going to like this suggestion. I don't care. I still suggest it. Do the home inspection before you list your house. Oh, I know. Home inspections are expensive. They cost like $600. They ain't cheap. Nobody wants to do this because what's going to happen is you're going to get back a report. Now, when you had a house like mine that's 110 years old, the inspection report is this thick. It scares everybody. But you're going to get back a report that's going to tell you everything wrong with your house. You don't want to do that because you don't want to know. But do you think they're not going to find out? Of course they're going to find out. Here's my suggestion. Do the inspection report. Find out what are system failures or issues with the home. I'm not talking about stuff that's going to go wrong in 10 years that they're predicting, but like, what are the things that are actually safety issues that need to be fixed today? Go ahead and fix them. Usually a home inspector will come back and do a re-inspection with no additional cost, and then put that report on the kitchen table. That is your way of saying, I've already done this for you. This home has no safety and system issues, and here's the proof. What a great rubber stamp of quality that is to a potential buyer. You've already fixed everything that could come up on an inspection report. Look, they're going to find out anyway. You're not hiding anything. And if you do, you're an unethical son of a bitch and you don't deserve to sell your home in the first place. There, I said it. It's going to come up in an inspection report. The worst case scenario, because you don't know how your buyers are going to react, is you just act like everything is fine on the house. It goes under contract. They have the inspection report. Some buyers are super finicky, and if they see two things wrong, they're like, oh my God, I don't want to do like, and then it comes out of contract, and now your house was under contract and then back on the market, and the next person who looks at your house is going to have one question in mind, which is, well, what was wrong with it? Why did the last person not want it? If that happens once, you can get rid of it. If it goes under contract and comes out twice, then your house is like a problem house. People get really suspicious. Why does it keep falling under contract? And once you know what the issues are, legally you now have to disclose them. So you can't act anymore like you didn't know. Once you see that inspection report, this is an interesting phenomenon. If you put a house under contract, and this has happened to me, and then you get the inspection report and you go back to the seller and you say, hey, I'm going to send you the inspection report. Like, you know, these things, sometimes the seller will say, I don't want to see it. Because once they see it and once they know about it, they have to disclose it. So just get ahead of that. Save yourself some time, anxiety, and problems. Do the home inspection first. Pay the $600. Fix the stuff that's wrong, that's not cosmetic, that you know is going to have to get fixed anyway, or that you're willing to fix. And then put that new report on the table and let them know that you've already gone ahead and taken care of all the potential issues. And then if you're really dreamy, take another $300 and add a home warranty on top of that, and you are going to be a buyer's dream because you look responsible and you look like you know what's up. You look like a professional, and that's what we want. All right? They're going to find out. They're going to find out. Just do it. All right, so have the inspection done first. Hey, and in a lot of instances, and I'm taking this little note of information from my friends who are in real estate investing. In a lot of cases, if you put that new report up there that says that everything's been taken care of, they won't even go out and get their own second inspection. They'll just take yours. And that shortens your closing time by a lot. A lot. Okay. I'm lost in my notes. My face is also really starting to hurt. Okay. All right. Be prepared in the first 2 weeks. It's going to be turn and burn. Once you're the new thing on the MLS, you're going to get a lot of showings, and then it will trickle off. Just be prepared for that, because I remember when I had like 4 showings in a day, and I was like feeling myself. And then it slowed down, and I was like, well, what's wrong with my house? And it's just sort of the nature of being new on the MLS. You're also going to get a lot of agents who don't bring a buyer. They just want to see your house because they're going to list a house, or they have another listing near your house and they want to check out the competition. Be prepared for that. Here's where you have to make a decision. Are you going to demand that the only people who can come see your house are pre-approved or not? There's 2 different fields of thought here. I'll give you both of them. If you, because now you have control of your listing, if you say only people who are pre-approved for this price with the bank can come look inside my house, then you don't have to deal with any tire kickers. There's no bullshittery. You're getting real deal, already qualified, let's go kind of buyers. Sounds great, right? Well, the other camp will say, well, then you're excluding all the people who might see your house, fall in love with it, and then go get their financing. It depends on what kind of environment you're selling your house in, I would think. Because when I was selling in 2018 and houses were flying off the shelf, they were still flying until 2 weeks ago. Damn coronavirus. Then I would say you're probably a little bit safer over here because you really only want to deal with people who you know can afford your house. And in this camp, you get everyone under the sun. I did this because it was the advice I got, and it wasn't terrible. It worked out for me, but I got many, many people who wanted to buy my house but who couldn't afford my house. And so I still had to tolerate all those showings and all those lowball offers, and it had nothing to do with the house. They wanted it and couldn't afford it. And so it was kind of a time sink. So I'll let you decide on that one. Always keep your house pristine. You're going to get calls in the middle of the day that they want to show it in 15 minutes. And they'll be so dramatic. And it'll be like, oh, my buyer is in from New York or Chicago or wherever, and they're only going to be here for like 30 more minutes. Can we please come? And you're thinking like, that is just so crazy that they had all that time to fly here and you couldn't have scheduled something? Like, you still got to play ball. You want to sell your house. And if you want to sell your house, you want to let everybody you possibly can who's qualified come see it. So the house always has to be pristine. You want to go ahead and stage it. Get rid of all your personal bullshit that nobody wants to see. Don't leave the toothbrush out. Empty the damn cat litter. It's amazing how many homes I look at, especially over the past couple years, where all their toiletries are out, the toothpaste is dried in the sink, there's dishes in the sink, and what does that say? It says, I don't care, and it also tells me that I think I can get this for less than they're asking because they don't seem too serious about it. They don't seem to know what they're doing. The Babe Cave was Downton Abbey. I kept that thing in mint condition. I wiped down the baseboards almost every single day. So you couldn't say that the house wasn't perfect because it was. Because the owner has control issues. Ow! Oh! I also made a book of the house and all the before and after photos. I put that down on the counter, and then every morning before I left a handwritten note that said, welcome to the Folks Gibson home built in 1910. I'm telling them a story. I'm trying to get them to fall in love. This historic Wilmington home has been lovingly restored. Thank you so much for visiting. Dear buyer's agent, please be sure to turn off all the lights and leave feedback after leaving. You pain in the ass. Just little touches like that can always help. All right. Next tip. This is an Arlo camera. This is a self-monitored security system. It comes in a pack of several. I will put a link to these in the bottom. I am not a gadget person. I'm not a thing person. This is the best money that I have quite possibly ever spent. I am a huge Arlo fan. Arlo has potentially saved my life. I'll tell you that story in a second. These have like a little, I don't have the other ones for reasons I'll tell you, but they have a little magnet clip. They have batteries, lithium ion batteries that usually you only have to charge like once every 2 months that go in here. They are waterproof. You can keep them outside. They just need Wi-Fi. And what it does is Arlo syncs up to your phone, and every time it detects motion, it will send you a 10-second clip of whatever it recorded. So I put ones at each of the doors and on the driveway. And I did this before I listed the house, but it helped me a lot with the house. And it will store all those 10-second clips for like 7 days, or you can pay more to have a lot more stored. And you can also pull it up live. This was so phenomenal. I already had it set up by the time the house was for sale. But because, remember I told you about the safety issues with me being in TV and wanting to make sure, I always knew who was at my house. And as I said before, you will get random people who like go and look in all your windows and knock on the door and like show up randomly without an appointment, without a booking that you had to pre-approve on your listing service. So I was able to watch the house, and I always knew if someone was at the house. And if there were people creeping on my windows, I had a way to handle that. Now I'll also put a link to the one that you can talk. And that, if I didn't have that at the time, but you can say to someone like, excuse me, can I help you? Get the fuck off my lawn. But I always knew who was at the house. I did not put them inside the house. I did not want people to feel like they were being watched when they were walking around the house. You are not allowed to record people in your house. There are some state laws with these, but you are allowed to self-monitor on the outside of your home. And it was so nice to have a way to always know what was going on. Because when I watched agents leave the door wide open, and when I watched people, like, I had one lady, like, violently let her kid smash around my wind chimes, and I at least was able to like, call the agent and say, you know, if this goes forward at all, like, please take better care of my property when I'm there. Like, you just have a little bit more awareness. That was great for selling the home because of just knowing who was at the house at all times. But about 6 months later, when I had moved out of the house, I put these up at a house that I was property managing, and at about midnight, the 10-second clip started to go off. It shoots phenomenal footage in pitch black. Phenomenal. It's like crisp. And I thought it was just the wind or leaves or a squirrel. And I turned on the live feed to look at the camera, and there was a face staring right back at me. And I watched that face on the live feed unscrew my camera and put it in his pocket. Now, I'm about having a heart attack at this point, and the gun is very much in my hand. And then I could hear him outside walking to the next camera, and I pulled up the live feed on the next camera. I'd already called 911. And there's that face staring right back at me, and I watched him unscrew the second camera and put it in his pocket. And then he did that for the third camera. And I have never been, you always think you're going to be such a badass in these situations. I was terrified, and I've not listened to my 911 call, but some of our officers have, and they said that it was pretty bad. Anyway, I won't go into the whole thing, but the footage that this camera, because it doesn't store in the camera, it stores on the cloud. Those 10-second clips that I had and that perfect pitch black middle of the night shot of his face, he got arrested like that because we were able to identify him very quickly. He got away when the police showed up, but he was arrested, and of course, like all low-level criminals, we handed him over to the judicial system. And even though he had a long rap sheet of assault on a female, drug crimes, larceny, burglary, everything under the sun, our esteemed judicial system here in Wilmington, North Carolina, slapped him on the wrist, asked him to please not do it again, and sent him right back on the street. You'll be shocked to know that a couple months later, he was rearrested for the exact same thing. But sorry, tangent. I just thought that this was really a great thing, just for peace of mind when you have that many strangers coming in and out of your home. And I really do like Arlo a lot. I'll put a link to a couple different versions of the Arlo cameras below. Okay. When you start getting your offers, this is that contract that you have to read. Here's where you get to be an FBI agent, and you have got to read these contracts with a fine-tooth comb. Don't respond until you have gone over every little detail, because there's so much in them and they're just confusing. Okay? Again, everyone looks at the offer price, but make sure you check the line about contingencies. It's a little teeny tiny box, itty bitty. And if they check it, it means that you're now under contract with them and you agreed that you are going to give them as much time as they need to sell their home before they can buy yours. No, you're trying to get this done, okay? They can put contingencies in there. I sold my house furnished, so that was something that I had to read, because I had the floors in the house were uneven, and I had a bed installed hanging from the rafters of the ceiling. It was literally a floating bed so that I could solve the problem of the uneven floors. It was really cool, beautiful. One of our local firefighters made it. And I had some people that there was a clause in there that the whole thing had to be taken down and removed. And I was like, the thing's a piece of art. I'm not taking it down. You take it down. You also want to look at the closing time period. How long do they want to close? Really short? Is that going to work for you? 2 months? Is that going to work for you? And then the one where you really have to drill down here is look at their financing situation. Now, a lot of people think that you can't ask about that. Hell, you can't. There's a lot of story in the financing, and you have to make sure that it matches up with the story that they're telling you. Example, I had a real estate agent bring me a buyer. They were an elderly couple, and their financing information on the contract was that they were financing 95% of the home. And that just didn't make any sense. Why? Because elderly couples who are not working have built up equity in other properties, and they have a fixed income. So they don't want high mortgage payments. So typically they put down substantial down payments, and they do not finance 95% of the home. A 5% down payment? That didn't make sense. Something was off. So I called their agent and I asked about their financing situation, and people are like, oh my God, I don't want, ask about someone's money. Fuck all that. You got to make sure that their money game is straight. Okay? So I started asking her questions about what's going on there and why, and I got that when people raise their tone oh. And it just didn't seem right. And I kept drilling on the issue that the 95 did not sound right. Why were they choosing to do that? Why were they choosing to have a highly leveraged home at this stage in their life? And eventually I got the answer before I agreed to go under contract with them. And the answer was they couldn't afford the home. Just, that was the answer. Couldn't afford the home. And once that came out, then they backed off from the offer. And I was pissed. I was so pissed. Because if you can't afford the home, why were they even brought to the home in the first place? But the more important thing is that because I acted like an FBI agent, and because I asked all those pressing questions, like, lady, it doesn't make sense, explain it to me, explain it to me, explain it to me, then I didn't go under contract with them. I didn't fall out of contract with them. And so my home still had a great reputation. And that's what you're trying to preserve. But you have got to be nosy. Ask a ton of questions. You're going to get crazy lowball offers. You don't get mad, you don't get emotional, but you call them back and ask why. Why do you think that my house is worth $50,000 less? Is the answer that they can't afford the house, or is there something that they saw? All of that is information you're collecting to figure out if this is someone you want to go under contract with or not. Think of it as like someone asking you out on a date. In 2020, you don't just say yes, you go internet stalk them. Duh. This is the same thing. You've got to do a lot of reconnaissance about what all those little details that they put in that contract, how they're financing it, does that make sense? You know, here's another one, new couple, early 20s, trying to buy a 110-year-old house. That was pretty expensive. Questions. To me, that didn't seem to make sense because millennial couples tend to buy new builds in a lower price range, and they don't know how to do any handiwork because they've never touched any tools or the dirt. And it was the same thing. They couldn't afford the house. Crazy lowball offer, couldn't finance it. But, again, put on your detective hat and, be pushy. This is your home. You have a right to ask questions. Okay. And same thing goes for if you have really good showings, you look in the feedback, they leave you all this great, oh, we love the house, everything is great, and then they disappear. And you're like, WTF, I thought you were going to send me an offer letter. Call that buyer's agent back. They might treat you like shit. They might not. But ask, say, well, what, it seemed like it was a really good showing. Why did they not make an offer? Oh, well, they've really got their hearts set on this neighborhood, or you'll get the story. But you have got to make those follow-up calls. If you are not willing to make those uncomfortable calls, and if you are not willing to hear the hard feedback about your property, then go get a real estate agent. So it's a huge job. Selling your house by yourself is no joke. That said, I saved a lot of money that went into my bank account to afford the babe bus and all the adventures since. So you've got a lot of information now. It's been a long video, but I hope good information and useful. And I also hope for all of us in the United States of America and Italy, God bless you, Italy, everywhere in the world, that we all are back to somewhat of a normal existence in the next couple weeks, and that we are buying and selling homes as we were doing before, and that the RV parks open and we can move around and go see the world again, because this is pretty damn depressing. So good luck with getting on with your home sale or adventure or whatever else you have planned. If you have any further questions about the nuances of selling your home, find me on Patreon or somewhere else. Thank you so much, Patreon people who are keeping this channel afloat right now, because there is no money anywhere else coming in. Love you all, weirdos. Bye.